There's a myth going round town that when you get older you just sit down and start rocking. Just rocking. In a way that's true, if you know what I mean. Just take a look at the senior scene. Well, it's rocking.
The mindfulness cultivates present-centered awareness, as we mentioned, and heartful qualities, including non-judgment of the self and others, acceptance, openness, and letting go. For example, with mindfulness, you're maybe less likely to hold on to resentments of the past, hold on to grudges. In doing that, we're actually creating more health for our brains because, like we talked about earlier, just being angry for long periods of time can be very unhealthy to our parasympathetic and sympathetic balance, as well as create disruptions in our HPA axis. The awareness, mindfulness and awareness lead to more gentle and calm spirit and increased insight, which can also be helpful. And over time, may help us to cultivate other positive qualities such as gratitude and self-compassion, compassion for others, generosity, patience, self-discipline, and empathy. This may seem like a tall order for any therapy, but it is a practice, and over time can result in huge changes in our approach towards life. The mindfulness-based stress reduction program was established by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn. This is his picture at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center in 1979. He developed it as an 8-week program teaching mindfulness, particularly to those who have chronic pain and other chronic diseases that have strong stress components. And he found that mindfulness was helpful to help people cope with their stress, their pain, and their various illnesses. At this point, there are over 750 mindfulness programs in the United States, and it's often found that mindfulness programs are in medical centers because they have been used by physicians to complement their medical therapies with their patients. We'll be talking about some of these practices, but just to say, what kinds of practices are taught in mindfulness? We'll be introducing sitting meditation, but there are other mindfulness practices such as the body scan, involving attention to body sensations, as well as mindful movement, as we talked about yoga and Tai Chi, but in our MBSR programs we use mostly yoga and walking meditation as movement, and we pay attention to our bodies as they move through space. The other major mindfulness practice we do is compassion generating for both ourselves as well as others. And then of course, I heard that you all did eating. Did you practice mindful eating? Any of you who were here last week? So that is another mindful practice. And that can bring awareness of of sensations as opposed to more of our emotional response towards eating and towards any kind of sensory event. And then people often, when they begin practicing mindfulness, use it in everyday life, which is really what you want. I mean, mindfulness training is meant to be a more formal practice that allows you to experience your life with mindfulness and awareness. So just as when you go to the gym, why do we go to the gym if we do? I mean, we might enjoy it, and that's great. At the same time, a lot of why we go is so that we will be more physically fit and in shape for our life. and we know that it's good for us. Well, mindfulness is that way as well, and analogously, mindfulness is kind of like our mentally we go to the gym. We are doing a very simple practice that allows us to kind of strengthen our abilities to become present, to be present. So when we are mindful in everyday life, we can actually practice by washing the dishes mindfully, if we like, or washing our clothes, or driving mindfully, or we can even practice mindful communication where we work, when we talk to somebody, we're aware of our speech and we're aware of the impact of our speech on others. And so these are all practices that just occur in the moment. So research has shown that mindfulness can positively impact a wide range of physical and mental health conditions, including our many illnesses that have a stress component, such as cancer, IBS, low back pain, sleep, arthritis, diabetes. And for example, and let's talking about diabetes, studies are beginning to show that mindfulness can help manage the condition of diabetes, be more present and have more healthy behaviors, and including watching our diets and so forth. So that it occurs in that way, but it also helps us physiologically to be in a better state, as we mentioned, lower our cortisol levels and so forth, being mindful. So it works in two different ways. There's also been studies showing that mindfulness can lower levels of anxiety and improve depression. It can help us with attention. So now mindfulness is being used a lot in schools to help students that have ADD or ADHD, rather than giving them medications, they can practice a very simple technique, which is just, again, it's like strengthening the muscle of the mind, bringing the attention back to the present, and that can actually improve our behaviors of our children and ourselves. Mindfulness has helped numerous people to work with substance abuse, because it can help not only notice the cravings, but it's called surfing the cravings. So you notice as the craving arises. So like cigarette smoking, you might notice you're really desiring a cigarette, but you can be mindful with that noticing. And then as that desire intensifies, you can be more mindful and stay with that. And then always, because things are impermanent, even that craving will subside, and you will have surfed that craving, and your attention will be shifting, and you might not even be thinking, just for a moment, okay, I'm not thinking about smoking a cigarette now. I had a real desire to smoke it when I just finished my meal, but now I'm thinking about something else totally different. So that's being shown now that mindfulness can improve our ability to manage substance abuse, at least for things like smoking and eating. Helping us to manage intrusive thoughts. We're doing a study at UNC now for young people that have had a schizophrenic break, and so I can't tell you the results yet, but notice I've been involved in some of the beginnings of those studies, and have heard anecdotes about from some of the people that has helped them to not be as concerned if they have thoughts that arise. They can just let those go, be present. Now those people are with medication, so they're still utilizing and being their medication for schizophrenia. So this is just an additional, what we call complementary medicine for working with people that have had those kinds of challenges. Now, mindfulness is now being shown to increase family harmony. So if everyone in the family is being mindful and aware, you might cut down on some of the arguments and just disruptive family dynamics. We can also say for sure that mindfulness decreases catastrophizing and rumination. The studies have shown that. Catastrophizing is when you have a thought and then you think, what is the worst? You're thinking, oh no. One little thing happens and you're thinking, well, there it goes. That's the end of it. It's gonna, everything's gonna be horrible outcome. Well, with mindfulness, you can notice that you have those kinds of thoughts and you can just let them go, which is bringing your mind back to the present. So in terms of brain function, mindfulness impacts brain function by decreasing reactivity of brain structures associated with anger and aggression. And that includes the amygdala. The increased cortical thickness of the insula is associated with, has been found to be associated with increased mindfulness practice and also increased concentration and better decision making, improved executive function, which is a very important part of the brain that allows us to make good choices, has been shown with increased mindfulness practice, as well as decreased activity of the default mode network, which is the aspect of our brain that kind of, when we are just like putting ourselves out, we're just allowing our minds to just kind of float away and do whatever they want and be mindless. That also happens to be correlated with rumination, which is also correlated with depression. So mindfulness decreases all those and is associated with less activity of the default mode network and more executive control. So mindfulness impacts the mind by increasing awareness of thoughts as thoughts without getting caught up in them. And when stressful thoughts arise, they can be noticed objectively and can pass away without reaction. Also, mindfulness helps the mind by allowing us to be in a sense of calm and peace no matter what is happening. This picture shows the eye of a hurricane. And we can be in that eye when we practice mindfulness if we're very disciplined. Many tumultuous events may be happening, but we have a sense of calm and peace because we're in the center of the storm rather than kind of caught up in all that. So the clouds would be representing, or the whirling hurricane clouds represent our states of mind that we will believe in and get caught up in. Mindfulness also helps us, as I mentioned previously, to develop more insight and compassion for others. We begin to experience ourselves much more as being similar to others. And so our sense of humanity, of common humanity, develops. And it's a long process to develop some of these components, but because first you must have the discipline of just being present. So we now have an opportunity to practice mindfulness for those of you who would like to partake in that. And if you're not interested in actually practicing or trying it out, you can just sit there. You might accidentally be mindful. But you don't have to. You can be mindless. So you can just look at your cell phone and read. I think that's contributed to my mindlessness more than a lot of things. So I think I should get a chair maybe so I can sit. That chair. So as you're sitting up straight, your feet flat on the floor, hands can be just resting on your thighs, or if you like, you can put your hands in your lap. I think resting on the thighs is good because it's kind of a balanced, open state. So we're creating a state of being present as if we're already practicing mindfulness just with our posture alone. We're practicing being awake. So wakefulness is one of the terms that's often used for being mindful. So as we're sitting, we are breathing, and we're already breathing. Just convenient, helpful. And we don't need to control our breathing in any way at all. Just sit for a moment and just notice your breath. Notice your body. Notice just being present. And listen to the sounds in the room without being distracted by them. Notice how your hands feel on your thighs or in your lap. And the instructions are very, very simple for mindfulness. They are to sit in the posture, such as this, the eyes open, looking downward, without focusing on anything at all, just allowing your vision to be a soft, open gaze, using the peripheral vision as well. The mouth can be open, the jaw slack. And then shift your attention to breathing. Attentive, being with the breath as it flows in and out. Just allowing the breath to be as it is. Noticing as you breathe in, then there's a gap where you're not breathing. And then naturally breathe out. And there's another pause. And then as you breathe in naturally, just be with the breath again. Tending to the breath. Not controlling the breath in any way. Now, if your mind does wander, which it might, when you notice that your mind has wandered and you're no longer with the breath, you can just say thinking, or just notice that. And then very gently let that thought or feeling, emotion, daydream, Just let it go. And then bring your attention back to your breath. And not controlling the breathing, just allowing it to flow in and out on its own. Allowing your attention to rest on the breath. Whatever part of the breathing process, such as you notice the rise and fall, your chest, notice the air flowing through the nostrils, or just a sense of breathing. And then if your thoughts take you away, you become distracted, just gently bring your mind and attention back to the breathing. Fall asleep or feel sleepy, that's okay. There's no particular state of mind that you need to be in order to practice mindfulness. Sleepy, you're just sleepy. You notice that. Bring your attention back to the breath. Having the worst thought or worry that you've had all week and it's occurring now, just notice that and let it go. You have plenty of time later to worry. You wish you could practice mindfulness all the time and just not worry. So we can bring this practice to a close, though often it's much longer that we would practice before we can stop. If you want, you can practice more, or we can practice another time. So thank you for your patience and for being present with the practice of mindfulness.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gaylord. This really has just been so helpful. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, and for passing along something that is just so accessible to all of us. So,
yeah, it is.
thank you.
We paid our dues all those years, and it's so nice to be switching gears. It's a grand new century, and it's the senior life, the senior life, the senior life for me.